How the heck do Canadians survive winter? That's the question I get quite often from people in Latin America, and whether you're from Latin America or you're from somewhere else, which also has a very comfortable or not so comfortable, warm, hot climate, you might be wondering the same thing because you want to travel to Canada or you want to move to Canada because our great leader, he really likes people from other countries. Us, he doesn't like so much. So, let me answer this question. As a Canadian, it really isn't that hard, but I can understand why you might be a bit confused. For example, if you're from a place like Mexico or Colombia or Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Brazil, Dominican Republic, the temperature might change a little bit, but for the most part, the temperature always stays the same. And in many of those places, it's quite hot. For example, right now, I'm in Cali, Colombia, and the average temperature is about 30 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day. Might be a little bit hotter. I also lived in Cartagena, Colombia, where the average temperature was about the same, but lots of humidity. And in Guadalajara, Mexico, for most of the year, probably is around 28 degrees Celsius. And I lived there for 3 months. Yes, 3 months. So of course, if you're from those countries, it seems kind of crazy to think that there are people like myself, like my family, who spent the majority of our lives, not the majority, but I would say 60, 70% of our lives living in weather of minus 15, minus 20 degrees Celsius. So how do we deal with this weather? What do we do? So a lot of people seem to think, and again, it's because they come from a warmer, hotter climate, that during the winter we just stay inside and do nothing. We don't even work because, well, how can you work if it's so cold outside? Actually, we do quite a few things outside. Obviously, when it's cold, you're gonna want to be inside and you're gonna spend more time outside in the winter, in the summer than in the winter. At the same time, life is pretty depressing if you just keep yourself inside all the time. And there's lots of fun things that you can do outside. So, what should I talk about first? Do you want me to talk about the things we do outside, or do you want me to talk about how we dress to survive the winter? How we dress? Fine. So, obviously, if the temperature is minus 10, minus 15, minus 20, or even minus 30, how do we dress in order to go outside? Again, it's quite simple. For me, it's obvious, but I grew up in this culture, in this climate, so it's obvious for me. But for you, maybe not so much. So the most important thing about dressing up for going outside in Canada, or this is the same for many parts of the United States, is you need to wear layers. Obviously, right now I'm wearing a little bit of a tropical button-up shirt. I definitely could not go outside right now in Canada with this on. Not to say that I haven't done it. Many Canadians, for example, if we have something in the vehicle that we forgot and we need to get it quickly and the vehicle is outside, well, I really don't want to spend 10 minutes putting on all my layers in order to get that thing from the vehicle. So, yeah, we'll just run outside in our pajamas or our indoor clothes and quickly go to the vehicle, open the door, grab what we need, close the door, run back inside, and all done in under 1 minute. Maybe that seems crazy to you, but people are lazy. I don't want to waste 10 minutes just to grab something from a vehicle in under 1 minute. No. But of course, if we're going to work or we're going to be doing something outside for more than 15 minutes, then of course we're going to put on our layers. So normally, if you're just going to work, for example, a Canadian like myself, we'll just wear regular clothes, I guess winter clothes, so that would not mean shorts, so no shorts. T-shirts you could wear. Many Canadians do wear t-shirts in the winter, but probably a better idea to wear a long sleeve shirt or to wear a sweater. So of course, we'll have our base layer of good socks, nice thick socks. Some people, like myself, will wear wool socks, which really keep the feet warm. Some people just wear regular underwear, but some people, like myself, we like to wear long underwear because, again, the more layers, the easier it is to deal with being outside. On top of the long underwear or regular underwear, we'll have our pants on. Most common is our jeans, but if you're thinking about moving to Canada, going to Canada, then I would advise you to buy some corduroy pants. Corduroy pants are just a little bit thicker. They insulate a little bit better, so they're definitely a good choice for the winter time. Or if you can find some pants with wool, made of wool, whether it's 20%, 50%, 80%, 100% wool, then definitely get those pants because they'll be a lot warmer than pants made from cotton. Of course, there's also a material called fleece. Of course, if you're from a warmer climate, you might not know about fleece, but fleece is basically artificial wool. It's wool made from basically plastics. It's a petroleum product. I try to stay away from it because I don't like unnatural products like fleece, like polyester. But at the same time, I don't want to tell you that you can't wear those materials. So you could also get some sort of fleece pants. Of course, one thing that many foreigners notice about Canadians and Americans is that we can be very informal when we wear clothing. And I would agree with this, especially in the wintertime. Now, for a few reasons. First reason is it's cold, you have lots of layers on, so what's the point of really, showing off your body, showing off your fashion when everybody is just thinking about, holy cow, it's really cold outside, I need to survive. So yeah, in those moments, most Canadians aren't really thinking about showing off their style. They're thinking about staying warm. So it doesn't really matter if you're wearing sweatpants or nice pants. So of course, many Canadians, instead of putting on pants, they'll put on sweatpants made from cotton, made from fleece, made from some sort of good material and nice and thick. And the second reason is because winter clothing costs a lot of money. So if you're from a warmer climate, a hotter climate, then yeah, a t-shirt and shorts are incredibly cheap. Incredibly cheap. And you might not even have to wear socks. But in the wintertime, you have to wear things that have more material and just simple business calculations, if something has more material, it's going to be more expensive. So, of course, long sleeve shirts, long underwear, thick socks, they're all going to cost a lot more money than just a simple t-shirt. And of course, the winter jacket. Winter jackets are incredibly expensive, and you don't want to buy a cheap one. You want to get a good one because it is really cold. So, it's incredibly expensive to wear winter clothing. So if you're thinking you're going to come to Canada and you're going to wear a different outfit every day, you might want to think again, because that's going to be a really big investment. You're going to have to think about investing, who knows, 1 grand, 2 grand, maybe even 3 grand if you really want to wear a different winter jacket every day. Oh, and there's a third thing. Winter clothing takes up a lot of space. So, for example, if you're one of those ladies that wants to really show off your style and have a different winter jacket for every day, well, just think about this. If you're living in a tiny apartment in Toronto or in Vancouver and you got a tiny closet and you have winter jackets which are this thick when they're hung up in the closet, you're not leaving a lot of space for all your other clothing. So yes, for those 3 reasons, Canadians, we really don't care about style in the wintertime. We're thinking more about survival. Survival, more important than style in the wintertime. All right, now, where was I? I was talking about the layers. So yes, remember, socks, long underwear, pants or sweatpants, depending on, how lazy you want to be. Then you're probably going to have a t-shirt or a wife beater on, and on top of that, you're going to have a sweater or a hoodie. Canadians and Americans, we love hoodies. Hoodies are, I'm pretty sure, an American invention, and yes, we love hoodies. So that's a very popular clothing item that we put on in the fall, in the spring, and in the wintertime as one of our base layers. And it's really good because you have the hood, so it also covers up your head, and you can give your head an extra layer. Genius, right? And then on top of all of this, you'll have your winter jacket. And again, the winter jacket is quite expensive. For many Canadians, we're spending 200, maybe even 300 Canadian dollars on a winter jacket. The winter jacket that I have, I've been using for a long time. I think maybe 14, no, maybe even longer. Maybe 50, 16 years. Like, I've had the winter jacket for a long time. So winter jackets, if they're from a good brand, they can last a long time. And as long as you're not buying some sort of strange fad winter jacket, it's not really going to go out of style. As long as it's a simple color and good quality, your winter jacket will last you a long, long, long time. So yeah, if you're just going to work, for example, you're going to work in an office, then yeah, that's probably what you're gonna wear. Just your base layer and a winter jacket. Now, if you work outside or you just wanna go outside to have some fun, then in that case, you're gonna probably wanna put on a few extra things. So, first, for Canadians, we have our toque. Toque is a very Canadian word. Toque just refers to the winter hat that Canadians put on top of their head. Americans, they don't use the word toque for that. I can't remember what they use. I think they might use beanie. But as a Canadian, I'm not really a Canadian supremacist, but I do love the word toque. It's actually a French word. It's from Quebec, but one of my favorite words in the Canadian English dialect is toque for sure. So you have your toque on your head to keep the warmth inside of your head, because one of the two areas that release the most heat who knows, maybe this is incorrect, but most Canadians are taught this. The two areas that release the most heat, and you don't want to release heat in the winter, you want to keep all the heat inside. The two areas are the top of the head and the neck, right? So, for that reason, we put a toque on our head to keep all the heat on in our keep all the heat in our head. Also, a good idea if you're going to be living in Canada, for example, is to make sure that you have a long hairstyle. If you're a man, if you're a woman, you should already have a long hairstyle, but who knows, maybe you're one of those women that wants to shave off all her hair for whatever reason. But yeah, if you're a man, try to get a long hairstyle because your hair will, again, create another layer on your body and keep in more heat. So nice long hair, put a toque on top, that's a second layer. If you're wearing a hoodie, because you want to be outside for a long time, then you can put your hoodie over top of your toque, and now you have basically 3 layers. You have your hair, your toque, and then your hoodie on top. And ooh, you're really warm in that moment. Now, there is the option to put on a scarf. Some Canadians, we put on scarves, others don't. Because, yeah, if you wear enough layers, you will get really, really hot. This surprises many people in warmer parts of the planet where they don't, they think it's impossible to be warm when you're outside in a cold place. But no, it's actually pretty easy. And actually, you can overheat if you have too many layers on for the weather. For example, if it's -2 degrees Celsius outside, yeah, you probably are gonna want to wear a winter jacket. But if you have on a lot of layers and you're just walking around for half an hour, yeah, you're probably going to start sweating and you're probably going to start getting really, really hot. So don't make that mistake. If you're planning to visit Canada or live in Canada, do not wear too many layers if it's not that cold outside. And of course, for a lot of people, -2 degrees Celsius is really cold. For Canadians, no, -2 degrees Celsius really isn't that cold. Honestly, you could probably walk outside with just your base layer and a sweater on and be just fine. Maybe put on a scarf and a toque, but yeah, you could probably be just fine in that weather with minimal clothing. So that's why you might be thinking, oh, Canadians should wear scarves. And honestly, it's always funny. When I was living in Canada, in Vancouver, for example, and I saw somebody with a winter jacket and a scarf on, I almost immediately knew that they were a foreigner because honestly, most Canadians, you can easily buy a scarf in a store, but it's not the most popular winter clothing item. But because foreigners, they're quite cold when they first come to Canada, they usually have a scarf on. But again, for me, I rarely put on a scarf unless it's -35, -40 degrees Celsius, and I really gotta make sure that I'm well insulated. But you really don't need it for Canadians. We really don't need it if it's warmer than -30 degrees Celsius because most winter jackets will cover the neck. So if you zip up your winter jacket completely all the way to here, the winter jacket's gonna cover up your neck and you really don't need a scarf. So that's why many Canadians don't wear a scarf. So again, if you're gonna be going outside to have some fun, you're gonna put on your scarf, you're gonna put on your gloves. One tip, if you don't know, you can get gloves. Actually, I believe gloves is the term for gloves that have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers. Or you can put on mittens. And mittens is the word for a glove with 1, 2 fingers. And if you're really, really cold, I would advise you to wear mittens. Mittens insulate better because you force the fingers to be together. The fingers keep each other warm. And of course, that means that your hand is going to be warmer. Whereas with gloves, you might be able to grab things more easily. They might be a little bit more user friendly, I guess I could say. But because the fingers are isolated, it's much easier for the cold to enter and begin freezing the fingers, because the first two places, there's a few places that are going to get really cold if you're not protected good enough, are going to be the fingers, the toes, the ears, and the tip of the nose. And especially with the fingers and the toes, if you're not wearing good enough clothing and you're outside in cold temperatures for more than 10 minutes, they will start freezing. And what happens with the body is that the blood starts leaving the extremities and going towards the core of the body. This is basically a survival instinct, an evolutionary survival instinct of our bodies to basically save the organs and sacrifice the extremities. So yes, blood will start leaving your fingers and your toes, and if you stay outside too long, of course you'll get frostbite, and if you stay outside way too long, then who knows, they might have to amputate your fingers. Normally that doesn't happen. I don't want to get you scared. That happens, not very often, at least for Canadians, because we're smart enough. But yes, if you go inside after being outside for more than 10 minutes with no gloves or mittens on, then you'll notice that when the blood returns to your fingers, they get really itchy, really itchy, and they start swelling up. So they get itchy and they swell up, and if you start itching them, they will start to hurt. So just my advice for you is try not to itch your fingers if you've been outside and they're really cold, because if you itch them, they'll really hurt afterwards for, 30 minutes, an hour. So it's better to just try to leave them alone, let them warm up again, and you should be fine afterwards. But yes, you want to make sure that you have on a good pair of mittens or a pair of gloves. And lastly, you're going to want to make sure you have some good winter boots. If you don't have good winter boots, your shoes are going to get wet because oftentimes there's snow, so the snow will get on the shoe. The warmth from your foot will melt the snow. The snow becomes water. The water soaks into the shoe or enters the shoe, and then you have wet feet in -0-degree temperatures, and well, that's another good way to freeze your foot. And if you stay out too long, well, we might have to cut off your foot, and we don't want that. So make sure you have on a good pair of winter boots. There's many different types of winter boots. Some are for work, some are more fashionable. Yeah, just make sure you got a good pair of winter boots and you should be fine. And of course, if you're going to be doing winter activities, then you're going to want to put on some snow pants. Snow pants are special pants that we wear in the winter time, basically to protect ourselves from the snow. Because again, if we don't have the snow pants on and we're playing in the snow, then the snow will get on our regular pants. The warmth from our legs will heat it up, it'll melt, and then we'll be playing with wet pants in -0-degree weather. Not a good idea. So with the winter pants, basically the snow can get on them, but the snow doesn't melt, and you're going to be comfortable. You have an extra layer on your legs. So that is my breakdown of what you would need to wear in order to survive outside in the Canadian winter. Now the next question you might want to know is, what do we do in the wintertime outside? Well, there's many things you can do outside in the wintertime. For Canadians, they'll make an ice rink outside and they can skate on the ice rink, and that's a lot of fun. If there are really good hills or mountains nearby, then you can go skiing or snowboarding outside, which I did when I was a teenager. I love to snowboard. It's a lot of fun. You can also do cross-country skiing if you live in a place that's flatter. So there are many Canadians, if they like to do cardio, for example, people that like to run or jog in the summertime, the springtime, and in the fall, they will cross-country ski in the wintertime because it's like running but on skis. So that's another thing that people like to do. There are other winter sports, for example, like curling. Curling is a pretty popular sport in the towns and villages in the rural part of Canada. It's a sport that I played when I was a teenager. Of course, most every building has a furnace. So with a furnace, old buildings are warm, so it's not like you can't go to a cafe, you can't go to a library, you can't go to the gym. You can still do everything that you would regularly do, but of course the furnace will be on to keep everything warm. Other people, they like to go ice fishing, for example, in Canada and many parts of the United States, especially the northern United States. There are a lot of lakes. I think people even on rivers will do this. They'll go ice fishing. So basically they'll drill a hole in the ice and they'll fish. So I don't personally like doing it because it is cold and basically you're sitting outside in the cold catching fish. So for me, it's not a lot of fun. I would prefer to do something a little bit more active, like snowboarding or ice skating than ice fishing. But for example, my brother-in-law and my father and my sister, they like to go ice fishing in the wintertime. Again, I don't really like doing it, but it's very popular in Canada and many parts of the United States. You can also buy a snowmobile. They're very expensive, but yeah, if you have the money, then you can buy a snowmobile and you can ride your snowmobile through the snow. Many people where I come from in Canada, they'll ride the snowmobile in the ditches. The ditches are the part beside the road. In Canada and United States, the ditch is basically there to protect drivers if they crash into the ditch, just a safety feature. But many people with snowmobiles, they will go riding in the ditches on the snowmobile to have fun. Oh, and of course the last one, maybe the one that anybody can do, irrespective of athletic ability, would be tobogganing, sledding. So that's a lot of fun. Just basically find a hill with lots of snow and you ride your toboggan, ride your sleigh down the hill. And yeah, those are some of the things that Canadians do in the wintertime to have fun. So yes, we do spend a lot of time inside, more time inside than we would in the summertime, the springtime, or in the fall. But of course, there are many things that we can do outside in the wintertime as well. So hopefully now with this video, you know what Canadians do in the wintertime and how we are able to spend time outside. Again, for me, it's not that strange what we do, but I imagine if you're from a place with a warmer climate, a hotter climate, a tropical climate, it might seem kind of crazy. So tell me what you think down below in the comments. You can tell me where you're from, what country you're from, and what the lowest temperature is where you're from. And yeah, it will help me understand why you think Canadians are so crazy because we live in such a cold place. And that's it for now. Hopefully your English has improved just a little tiny bit from listening to this, and I will see you in the next video, simple English video, my dear student. Bye.